Good evening, Canisius. In tonight's episode, we're going to explore Senate's vote to turn Palisano into a new fitness center. And after that, we'll be looking into the role of the Council of Presidents. I'm your host, Claire Dirrgl, and this is Griffin Insiders. Today I'm joined by USA Executive VP Anthony Kroese, Fusion VP Chen, and VP of Programming Ann Continetti. Thank you guys so much for being here today.
Of course, we're glad to be here. And
thank
your
you for
hair?
having us.
Great as usual.
Do you mean? Oh, wow, you're
really
too good to me, Anthony. Thank you. I should always keep you around here. Well, one of the reasons I want to have you all here today is because there was a lot of discussion about the Council of Presidents from the presidential candidates. On Tuesday, the COP voted in favor of a bill for Senate to revisit the Palisano Fitness Center allocation, but Senate voted against bringing the issue back up. Before we start our discussion, let's take a look at this video.
Out of all the issues that the Senate has been working on this week at Canisius, one stands at high priority: the Palisano Pavilion Fitness Center. Previously, we got to talk to the Undergraduate Student Association President Brock Wilkinson, who was excited for the possibility of a fitness center being closer to main campus.
When students go to the gym and they run, they feel better. A healthy student performs better in the classroom.
Yeah, definitely.
There's been studies done, I can't quote one right now, but I definitely see a correlation there. And I want to provide this to the students. I mean, we want a healthy student body, and we want to be able to promote health and wellness when it comes time to enroll new students.
And this is convenient as well, right? Being right on the main campus?
Yeah, it's going to be right on main campus. Generally, it's going to be in my vision is to have it in the Penfold space.
Okay.
And students would be able to go there to get in their quick run or their resistance training.
Right.
So that this way they don't have to walk all the way to the gym.
Now that the fitness center has been passed, on Tuesday the Council of Presidents met to discuss the impact of the fitness center on campus clubs and organizations.
Tonight we had the bill come before us regarding whether the Senate should take a look back once again at the fitness center proposal, and I took that vote then and we delivered it to the Senate. The vote was in favor to revisit it. 31 clubs voted in favor, 15 were opposed. They wanted to leave it as is and let us move forward, and 3 abstained. This was a really good opportunity for clubs to have some discussion. There was a lot of discussion both sides, in favor of it, against it.
Just mentioned it in Senate in October. I've just kind of asked around a little bit, and then most recently, during the biggest controversy, I got both petitions, but one supporting and one opposed to the fitness center. And today I went around to Dormstorm Dugan, knocked on every door I could find to really get student opinion, without trying to pressure them to pick a side.
This week, Senate passed a $181,000 bill to turn the main floor of Penfold Commons into a workout center without consulting the Council of Presidents or club leadership. That location is used primarily by clubs. We want Senate to reconsider an alternate location for a workout center on main campus that won't interfere with student programming. We collected, in less than 48 hours, 385 signatures from the dorms, library, and anyone on campus we could stop and ask.
My own personal experience, I've had a lot more who are for the fitness center because they see the opportunity of having a closer on-campus fitness center where people can work out. And since the beginning of the proposal for the fitness center, which President Wilkinson brought about 5 months ago, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about how it's going to be closer on campus. Kids won't have to deal with the harsh elements of walking outside all the way to the CAC. The fact that they don't have to worry about walking late to the CAC because it could be dangerous at times walking along all of Main Street. And also just the opportunity to have it for 24 hours a day, because that's something we don't have right now. That's what I wanted to clarify tonight, was that we weren't ignoring the 385 people who were on that petition. I wasn't voting no to ignore them. I voted no to support my earlier vote of yes to support the fitness center because of the experiences I've had with many different students on campus who are excited about the opportunity.
Ultimately, Palisano Pavilion is going to change, and it is up to the Canisius community to decide how to view it.
For those 385, I want to let them know that we're listening and we understand, but we think having the fitness center and moving forward is better than being scared of the change and not advancing because of potential bumps in the road.
Now, after watching that video, why do you guys think this became such a big issue for the COP?
I'll take this one. I think the issue is that COP, we know that we're not an official voting legislative body. We know that we're an advisory body to the Senate, meaning that if there's a bill that's important to the clubs, they'll bring it before us. And the issue is that Senate voted on a bill that directly affects a lot of clubs without consulting us. I know that Council of Presidents meets once a month and Senate meets once a week, but I feel like this would have been important enough to contact the clubs in some way, maybe hold a special assembly to call everyone together before the vote with Senate.
Did you have any inkling that this was even going on, or is this a big shock to you as well?
For me and a lot of club members, it was a big shock to us. Whenever I ask people in Senate, they say that it's been talked about for 5 months, that there's been short articles in the Griffin mentioning that this might be a thing, but nothing official had been presented until the day of the vote.
I agree. It was a surprise to me too. And then programming will have to change too on campus. And then Anne, as president of SPB, what's your opinion on this?
Well, like you said, programming is definitely going to have to change. And what's funny is that we actually introduced new bylaws to Senate the same night that this was voted on in the COP, which was totally unintentional. But we're definitely, SPB will be taking over a lot of programming that CPLD now does, like late night programming, any fitness programming like the cardio kick. But also, I'm heading up this task force as part of USA to look at programming around campus and figure out what's the best way to make changes and find new event spaces if Palisano is no longer usable.
Anthony, as a member of Senate, what's your take on this? Do you think it was fair to vote not to revisit it?
I was of the opinion at that night that, the council presidents, as being my little baby, as I always call it, if the council president said we should revisit it, then it at least deemed us just to bring it up. However, I would then, once the Senate decided not to bring it back up again, my focus changed, and that's how we saw. I asked Ann to come up with the task force. I asked Brock to put together a list of all the events that are in Palisano. So after the Senate decided that they didn't want to revisit the topic, my idea was we need to move forward from this. We need to now figure out, well, let's assume that Palisano was a fitness center. How does this affect us? Let's take a look at all the problems that could possibly happen down the road and make sure they aren't a reality.
Now, how will the fitness center affect student life?
I think it's going to be a good thing. Oh, shoot, excuse me. Sorry.
You're fine.
I'm good, we're good. Moderate humor here, guys. But I think it's going to be a good thing for students. It's going to allow the club leaders to redevelop their clubs on campus, especially in the areas of programming. It comes at a great time because, just like Ann said, programming on campus is changing. And so it's a good time for us to reevaluate everything from the top to bottom. How do we do our events? Where are our events? And then, of course, there's the health aspect of it. We've always talked about having a better fitness center somewhere on campus. So might as well start here and make that be the place.
Now, I know that there's some opposition to the whole development of the gym because there's clubs that do meet in Palisano and they're finding themselves kind of kicked out of there and they don't really know where to set up. Do you think that the benefits of having a fitness center, will more students use that than use the space for clubs?
That's going to be a tough question. I think that's one that really, the result of that is going to come out of Ann's task force. Because I think it's just too soon for us to really tell. We need to see what's going to happen, how many clubs we're directly going to basically impose upon needing to have a new space. And especially when certain clubs use that room for specific events that are only really fit and really set up for Palisano, that's where you're going to really see those tough decisions being made. You're going to have those club leaders get a little bit more creative in their location and how they set up their new spots. So it's going to be a tough one.
We also saw a resurgence of Grifflix, and we had Emma Carberry on here to talk about that, and that's a big event that's held in Palisano. Do we know how any other clubs are going to be affected, or do we know how they're going to kind of move around this? Or is it too far in the future to
I think it's too far in the future to really plan. I think a lot of it will come, like I said, from Ann's task force, so we can go from there.
Now, Gabe, I know that you're a little adamant in trying to kind of just get Senate to re-vote on this, and you actually issued a petition. How many signatures did you end up getting for people to rethink this? I
got 385 signatures from the papers that I was able to collect. I think there were still a few floating out that I had handed to a couple people that weren't able to get them back to me in time. But 385 students wanted Senate to reconsider, that we were able to reach in less than 48 hours, that either wanted Senate to reconsider the bill to put the money towards improving our current workout facilities, or figuring out another space to put a new fitness center.
Were you surprised by their decision not to revote?
Personally, I was disappointed in their decision not to revote. I wasn't very surprised because it's a lot harder to get any legislative body to revisit a bill that they've already passed than to oppose a bill when it's still in the bill form. I think that it would have been easier and the petition might have done a little more if the bill had been put off for a week while the COP deliberated and students were made more aware of the plan. So it's more of a problem with transparency than anything. The workout center is just one symptom of the lack of transparency through Senate.
Well, the debate was the other night for all the presidential candidates. What did you guys think of the debate, and do you think this issue was apparent there at all?
I think the debate went really well, just in general. I mean, forgetting about the COP, all of the candidates were very well prepared and well spoken. And I thought it was really interesting, at least for me, and I'm sure Anthony has some opinions on it too, seeing as the COP is his baby, that all the candidates brought it up when they were speaking. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the COP, as was very apparent by all the presidential candidates, it's going to be revisited over the next couple of years. And when I created it, it was supposed to be a malleable organization, something that over the next couple of years we could change, we could make it match what the students need, what the clubs need, and most importantly, what the overall need of student government is. So I think it's definitely some change is going to occur over the next few years.
Well, thank you all so much for coming in to talk about this. Don't go anywhere because Griffin Insiders will be right back.
There was one day that we had just done the cardiovascular unit, in class that day. And then right after class, I went over to the Vascular Institute, volunteered, put the scrubs on. And one of the doctors asked me if I wanted to see an open heart surgery. And so I said, yeah, really? Sure.
I came into Canisius as obviously as a freshman, not really sure what I wanted to do. I ended up taking a digital media arts class, and that really just kind of jump-started, my career.
And I think being where we are in the city and in the world with the medical campus that we have here is really an opportunity that I wouldn't have anywhere else.
It's more than just academics. Meet different people. Go out and do things. There's so much more to college. It's an experience.
I instantly fell in love with doing video work, graphic design. I started pursuing more and more opportunities in the school, whether it was doing admissions videos on the sides. I did a couple videos for alumni relations, the president of the college, and then I actually got noticed last year, and they sent me over to the Philippines to create a feature-length documentary.
I lived with a host family while I took classes in Spanish with Spanish professors at the University of Oviedo, and I was a Spaniard for a semester, and it was the best decision I made as a college student.
Welcome back to Griffin Insiders. We'd like to welcome Matthew Murray, a freshman senator, to discuss plans for the involvement of the Council of Presidents. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. Glad to have you.
Doesn't her hair look great?
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. This has just been great, guys. How do you feel about the Senate decision to not revisit the whole issue with Palisano?
I think that the senators, personally, after the debate for 5 months over whether or not it should go in there, because we knew about it, didn't want to go back. We knew what the concerns were, we had talked to the students, but we still felt like revisiting it would be redundant.
Which makes sense. Do you think that the Council of Presidents should have had more involvement with this issue?
They definitely should have been let in at some point in time. Maybe like a month ago, or even just like before we met, send out an email. Oh, we're gonna turn Palisano into a fitness center now. have fun. Let the games begin.
Speaking of the Council of Presidents, is it on its way to becoming the counterpart to Senate?
It depends on who you ask. Being in Senate, knowing the logistics of everything, it's definitely not gonna be a twin to Senate. It's going to change. We're definitely gonna see a difference in what Council of Presidents' role is. What that difference is depends on really who we bring in to work on it. Your new e-board, that's definitely a big thing. But I think that we're gonna see it playing a bigger role in at least what the Senate talks about.
Anthony, what do you think?
I think the future of the Council of Presidents is definitely going to be a bright one. Something that started last year, it had a rocky start. We weren't sure exactly where it was going to go, what its future is going to be. And I'm starting to see the light. I'm starting to see the fact that it's a good thing we kept it going. It's a good thing that we're continuing with it because there is a need for it. The reason why I started it was specifically the need to have that voice of the entire club population represented. And that's definitely something we see here. As I said last week to someone is, if we've learned anything from this, at least we've learned that the need to have that club voice representation there is definitely one that's very apparent. Down the road though, I think the Council of Presidents is going to have a greater role. It'll probably be more, at least how I foresee it, more of a check. I don't think it could ever be a counterpart. Our school isn't large enough. At many other larger schools, they do have something similar to a House of Representatives and a Senate, and they serve somewhat of an equal body, and they do make up somewhat of a Congress. But we aren't a large enough school. With about 2,800 students here, and that's really who you're representing, I think having the COP serve more as a check would be far more beneficial than have two legislative houses.
Which is a great idea of how to deal with it. But the other day on Thursday at the debate, a lot of the presidential candidates proposed their ideas for involving the COP, and they kind of seem to think of it more as a bicameral role with the Senate. Do you think that that's just overstepping the bounds? Do you think that the presidents are trying to seek too much involvement?
You know, I just don't ever foresee it moving that far. I think it would really bog down the entire system. That was my fear when I created the Council of Presidents, and that's why we didn't really unroll it as having so many powers, is because we wanted to remain malleable. We also didn't want it to become such a bureaucracy that it becomes a pain. It's meant to be an easy meeting, you know, once a month. It's only for an hour. If we go over the hour, that's it. We save it for the next week or the next meeting. However, you know, there were some checks and balances already in place, so the Council of Presidents has to approve any changes to the COP as well as the Senate and vice versa. So it kind of keeps both organizations on track, and that's going to be the same for the Student Programming Board that's now going to be a council. So I think you're going to see changes. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go. I'm leaning towards hopefully it stays as a advisory and checking organization, mostly because two bicameral houses I think will just slow down the entire system and make it very difficult for club leaders.
One of the things that was brought up at the debates was by making it a bicameral legislature, a couple of the candidates wanted COP involved in the budget process. Now, there's a difference between being involved, as in we have a couple representatives on the Finance Committee, to COP needs to vote on everything that Senate votes on with budgets, which I personally don't think is a good idea. If you have a couple of clubs that make way overinflated budgets and say, I'll vote for yours if you vote for mine, then we get a bunch of overspending and there's not enough money to go around.
See, I think that's a good way to head, especially in the Finance Committee. You could still have those senators, and then rather than having them be students at large that serve on the Finance Committee, that come from the Council of Presidents. So that could be a good unifying factor between the Senate and the Council of Presidents.
Which is a great idea. Well, thank you guys so much for being here today, but unfortunately, we're out of time here on Griffin Insiders. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next week.